I locked the bathroom door with shaking hands, blood running down the side of my face. My vision blurred, but I could still hear his voice, loud and full of rage, pounding against the wooden door like a demon trying to break through. "Lucille, open this door, or I will knock it down." I slid down against the tub, my knees pressed to my chest, my body trembling. The crack on my cheekbone throbbed from where his ring had torn my skin. I wanted to scream. I wanted to vanish. But most of all, I wanted to survive. This was not the first time I had hidden from Morris. It would not be the last if I stayed. He had this way of apologizing after. Soft hands on my shoulders, quiet sobs into my hair, promises that melted like sugar in tea. "You just made me angry, baby. Do not talk back next time, okay?" The sad part? I believed him. Until I stopped. I knew right then, pressed against cold tiles, my heart crawling at my throat. I had to get out. But not the way I had tried before. Not with screaming. Not with threats. Not with a packed suitcase left by the door. This time, I would smile while planning my escape. Before I continue, I want to take a moment to thank you for being here. To all my loyal subscribers, thank you for returning week after week. Your support means everything. And to my new viewers or anyone watching without subscribing yet, I am truly grateful you are here too. I hope you will hit that subscribe button because your support is the fuel that keeps this channel going strong. Please do not forget to leave your thoughts in the comments and share this story with someone who may need to hear it. Now, let me take you deeper into the truth behind my survival. My name is Lucille, and I am 33 years old. I used to be a nurse in Honolulu before I met Morris. He was charming then, tall, confident, with eyes that burned right through you. I was drawn to him like a flame. He was 38, a former military contractor who had returned home to Hawaii to start over. What I did not know was that meant starting over in total control of someone else's life, mine. After we married, he convinced me to leave my job. He said he wanted to take care of me. Slowly, my phone calls with friends stopped. My visits to town became rare. Then, my access to money was taken. One day, I woke up and realized I did not exist outside of him anymore. The beatings began the day I tried to leave the first time. I had packed a bag and walked toward the front door. He saw me. He laughed at first. Then he grabbed me and dragged me back inside. "You want to run? Try again, and I will bury you where no one finds you," he said. I believed him, but fear did not stop my mind. I began faking everything. I cooked his favorite meals. I let him touch me even when I wanted to scream. I smiled when he asked me if I loved him. And the whole time I was watching, waiting. Then, on a rare afternoon when he let me go to the grocery store alone, I met her. A woman with calm eyes and a quiet strength. She bumped into me by the fruit aisle, apologized, looked at the bruise on my wrist, and handed me her business card. "If you ever need a way out, call this number," she whispered. Her name was Ivy. That card sat in my drawer for 2 weeks. I stared at it every night. And then, one morning, when Morris left to run errands, I picked up the phone. I dialed, and my whole life began to shift. When Ivy answered the phone, I almost hung up. My fingers were damp with sweat. My voice felt buried deep inside my chest. But something in her calm tone pushed me forward. "This is Ivy. Are you safe right now?" I swallowed. My voice cracked. "Yes. For now." She asked simple questions. Nothing too emotional. Nothing to scare me off. Where did I live? Was he home often? Did I have a bag packed? Could I leave with no trace? I answered in whispers, checking the window every few seconds. I kept the phone low to the floor in case Morris had bugged it. Ivy never raised her voice. She had the calm of someone who had helped many women before me, maybe even saved them. "Lucille," she said, We only get one shot at this. If you commit, you have to see it through. There is no going back once we start. I nodded like she could see me. Then I whispered, I am ready. That was the moment the real plan began. Ivy explained everything. She ran a small underground program for women escaping abuse. Nothing official. Nothing tied to police unless absolutely necessary. She said women like me often needed a quiet exit, one without sirens or headlines. She gave me a location, a coastal checkpoint near Kala, a house disguised as a boat rental, but really a safe station with surveillance and protection. If I could get there, she would take care of the rest. I had 7 days. The next morning, I made pancakes and coffee like everything was normal. Morris smiled as he chewed. He kissed my cheek and told me I was finally learning. I wanted to stab the fork right through his hand. Instead, I laughed. I nodded. I cleaned the dishes. At night, I cried silently into the pillow, facing away from him. I packed a small bag with only what I needed. IDs, a few clothes, cash I had stashed inside an old shampoo bottle, and Ivy's address written on a folded receipt. By day 3, the air in our house grew tighter. Morris became more touchy, more paranoid. Who were you talking to yesterday? He asked. I heard a whisper in the hallway. My blood turned cold. Just the TV, I replied. He stared at me for a long time. Then he laughed and said I was too dumb to lie. I wanted to rip out his tongue. Ivy texted a code word each night to check in. Still breathing? I replied with one word. Barely. On day 5, Morris came home early. His eyes were red. His fists were tight. I quit my job, he said. I am going to stay home from now on. Be with you all the time. We are going to fix this marriage. My stomach twisted. He knew. He had to know. But I smiled. I wrapped my arms around him and said, that makes me happy. That night, I lay beside him wide awake. Every second felt like a bomb ticking. Day 6, I texted Ivy, can we move it up? She replied, one more day. Be invisible. Do not slip. The next morning, I woke up to find Morris sitting at the edge of the bed, holding my backpack. He opened it slowly, pulled out the receipt with the address. His hands began to shake. What is this, Lucille? He asked, voice low like thunder building. I could not breathe. My heart felt like it had stopped. Morris stepped closer, the receipt crumpling in his hand. You planning to leave me? He asked, his voice low and terrifying. You think you can hide something from me? My lips trembled, but I forced myself to look calm. I had rehearsed this. I had studied his moods, the way he responded to fear. If I cried, he would hit me. If I yelled, he would choke me. But if I bent, just slightly, he would believe he still owned me. I reached out slowly. I touched his chest and whispered. I was planning a surprise. A trip. I wanted to show you I was trying to be better. He stared at me. His eyes searched my face like a lie detector. Then he dropped the receipt and walked out of the room. The door slammed. My knees gave out. I had less than 24 hours. And now he was watching me like a hawk. That night, he chained the front door. He placed my phone in his drawer. He said we were going to reset things in the morning. I knew what that meant. He had done it before. A full day of being locked inside, no contact with the outside world, silent punishments if I spoke out of turn. I waited until he fell asleep. At 2:07 a.m., I slipped out of bed and tiptoed to the kitchen. My hands shook as I pulled the extra key from beneath the loose tile near the sink. I had hidden it there 3 months ago. I unlocked the back door slowly, praying he would not hear the click. Outside, the air was thick with salt and silence. The moon lit the dirt path that led through the trees. I carried nothing except a drawstring bag under my hoodie. My phone was gone, but I had memorized Ivy's route and every instruction. I ran, barefoot at first, until the gravel bit into my soles and I slipped on my sandals. I ran for nearly 30 minutes down the path, past the edge of the highway, until I saw the wooden sign that read, Coastal Breeze Kayak Rentals. I knocked twice, paused, knocked 3 more times. The door opened. Ivy stood there, flashlight in one hand, a bag in the other. "You made it," she said. I collapsed into her arms. The house was small but secure. Cameras on every corner. Reinforced windows. Ivy said the nearest neighbor was a mile out. We did not sleep that night. She gave me water, bandages, and a burner phone. I texted a coded message to a friend back in Honolulu to cover for me. By noon, Ivy had contacted a shelter on the mainland with an opening for me. I was to fly out under a different name the next morning. But that afternoon, we heard a car pull into the gravel drive. Ivy looked through the security cam. Her jaw tightened. "It is him," she whispered. "Stay here." She stepped outside, locking the door behind her. I watched through the peephole. Morris stormed out of his truck. He shouted her name, demanded to see me. He said I had something that belonged to him. Ivy stood like a wall. "Come. Still." "This is private property," she said. "Leave now, or the police will be here in 2 minutes." He spat on the ground. "She will come back to me. You think you can hide her forever?" Then he turned and drove off. My legs gave out. But I was free. I made it to the mainland the next day. New name, new haircut, new life. It took months to feel my body belonged to me again. Sometimes I still wake up thinking he is standing over me. But I remind myself I escaped. And I did it with a plan. Not rage. Not noise. Just quiet strength and the help of one stranger who refused to look away. If you're watching this and feel trapped, please know this. You are not crazy. You are not weak. You do not have to wait for it to get worse. There are people out there like Ivy. There is always a way out. Drop a comment below if this story moved you. Let us know your thoughts. Share this video with someone who needs it, and please hit the like and subscribe button. Your support helps keep stories like this alive and may even save someone else. Thank you for listening.